Hey everyone, it's Nora from Nora's Arc here, and it is June 10th, and we have garlic scapes popping up. So we thought we'd make a video about what to look for in June if you are growing garlic. As a reminder, we are in southern Wisconsin in zone 5A, and we're growing hard neck varieties of garlic. So we have scapes on our garlic. And why is it important to talk about scapes? Because after we pick them off, which I'll talk about in a second, we will harvest the garlic about 3 weeks after that. So talking a little bit more about timing, the bed behind me here, we planted that on October 23rd of 2022, so last year. And then this one was October 30th. And the bed behind us, the one that we planted earlier, that has a lot more scapes popping up since we did plant it a week earlier. And the reason that we do our beds a week apart is because we're still trying to figure out what the best date to plant garlic is. So we always do them a week apart, so that way we can have two experiments of one that we planted a little bit earlier and one that we planted later. So let's dive into the scapes. So let's dive into what a garlic scape is and why you would want to pick them. This is what they look like. This one is curled, so we will be picking this guy. But let's talk a little bit more about what it is and the structure of garlic. So a garlic scape is essentially the flower. And the reason that we want to pick the scape is because we don't want flowers from our garlic. We want the bulb from the garlic. So when we pick this off, what we're telling the plant is that we want it to send all of its energy down to the bulb. So as I mentioned, this is the flower. We'll pick it off. When they start growing, they kind of just grow up, and then you'll know when it's time to pick it when it curls like this. And to pick it, it's really simple. You literally just grab it, and of course, now it's not going to work perfectly for the video, but you just snap it off with your finger, and then where it snaps off is where you want it to go. And then we were also reading this year that you want to do this in the morning. That way the garlic scape kind of has time to dry out and harden off, versus like if you were to do it at night, then it would be exposed to potential pests or things like that. So just do it in the morning. And then what's awesome about these scapes is they definitely don't have to go to waste. They are super yummy. You can just use them like you would garlic in any recipe. So we've been putting them on our burritos or our sandwiches, things like that. And what's cool about this as well is our green onions. They just started going to seed, so they're getting really thick and they're not really as good to eat. So now we have scapes to eat. So the timing of that's really cool, because last year we did about 200 garlic heads like we're doing this year. And we had garlic up until May. So it was about 9 months that we had garlic for. Then we had our green onions during May. And then now that our green onions are done, we're gonna have our scapes. So we always have garlic or onions to add to our meals. So that's super awesome. And then one other thing that I did wanna mention is if you're growing elephant garlic, that is a little bit different, because technically elephant garlic is a leek. It's not a true garlic. We won't go into that. But the thing to know about scapes is they won't curl. So with elephant garlic, we found that you want to just kind of snap these off right away. They'll get about a foot tall. They won't curl. We were waiting for them to curl last year, and then they got super tough and we couldn't even use them. So you just want to pop those off, and ideally you want to do it before this flowers. We had one that the flower head did actually open up, so we did wait a little bit too long, but that's fine. We have 200 cloves, so it's all good. And as I mentioned, the reason that you want to pop these scapes off is because you want the energy to go into the bulb, and timing varies, but it's usually about 3 weeks to a month after you harvest these that you'll actually harvest your garlic. And there's a few more signs to look out for. For example, like 2/3 of the leaves will die back, but we'll do a video on harvesting our garlic once we get to that stage and talk a little bit more about the details on that. And I'll include a link in the description of a playlist that we have on all of our different videos about growing garlic. One last thing I just wanted to talk about is what we're doing right now with our garlic. So as I mentioned, we are plucking off the scapes and we'll harvest them about 3 weeks to a month after that. But other thing that we're doing is honestly not much. We aren't watering them that much. We've been giving them about 1/2 inch to 1 inch a week. And luckily for the garlic, it's been sort of a drought here in Wisconsin lately. Not luckily for the rest of our plants. But anyway, garlic really doesn't like that much water, so that's okay. And what we'll also do is 1 week before we harvest it, so once we start to see those leaves dying back, we'll completely stop watering that. And why would we do that? 2 reasons. One is that it makes it easier to harvest when the ground is dry. And 2, you want your garlic to start drying out while it's in the ground, so that way it can kind of kickstart that curing process. But anyways, what we're gonna do now is harvest the rest of our scapes that are curled over and our elephant ones that aren't. And it's just awesome because we get this extra culinary delight from our garlic before we get to harvest all of our bulbs. So as I mentioned, we'll be doing that in about 3 weeks to a month, and we will do a video on harvesting our garlic once we get to do that, so that way you guys can know what to look for and see how our garlic has turned out after this long 9 months of waiting.